Good morning, everybody. Hope you're well. Wow, what a crazy morning. I've literally tried this. I think this will be the fourth time I'm trying to actually do this video. And it's crazy. And it's what needs to happen. And it just must probably get into the space of abundance and the space of this conversation. Okay. So, what's been, what we've been doing was we've literally went through what we want for ourselves in this program. And that was day one. And day two, we looked at creating a sacred space, a space where we can just be present and bring that abundance within our homes or within our gardens so that we can just presence ourselves on a daily basis to wanting abundance. And I think maybe that's why today is in that space, because I'm in that space of, do I believe this? Do I need to do this? And I've tried this and my old personality is showing up, I think. And what I need to do and to be present to is that this is what I hear myself, I hear my old voices, and that's fine. Let's move on. And let's be with you and connected to you. Okay. And then day three, we looked at the inner child and the wounds we get from the inner child. And then we went on to look at the masculine and how different genders have actually played a massive role in who we are and what we bring. And in and today we'll look at the divine feminine and what that brings. And what I just want to send to yourselves is the questions we ask. Maybe let's ask this from the divine feminine perspective as we go into this talk. What messages or expectations do you grow up about how a woman is supposed to act? How do those expectations affect the way you behave and think now? How does the idea of the real woman restrict you in life? Are there any emotions that you were discouraged from expressing or any activities you were discouraged from engaging in that you now recognize as important in maintaining a healthy emotional life? How have these restrictions impacted your relationship with other people? Do you feel pressured to conform to traditional gender roles and live up to the expectation of others? How's your understanding of femininity changed over time? Do you think traditional ideas of femininity limit or hinder women or men in any way? And I think what we want to do with this question is, do you think that traditional ideas of femininity hinder women? And we need to look at, do traditional ideas of femininity limit or hinder men in any way? If you could really find what it means to be a woman, what values or qualities would you include? What do you think are the most important aspects of how femininity is expressed? How do you think the feminine definition has impacted your self development and life choices? What do you think could be done to create a healthier version of femininity? Before we go, I'd like to go into what the attributes are of a wounded versus an awakened feminine. And guys, neither is right or wrong, it's just where we are. And recognizing that's where we are. And if we want to change it, let's work on it. If we want to improve it, why not? If if we don't, that's good as well. But we're here to think differently, maybe, or be different. Maybe that's, and this works. So, a wounded feminine, fearful and lack of trust, difficult in being vulnerable. Oh, wow, it sounds like me. Easily feels hurt and disappointed, self focused without considering the needs and feelings of others, falling into a pattern of blame, shame, and guilt, loss of connection with institution and the ability to self guide. Sorry, loss of connection with our intuition and the ability to self guide. Obsessed with trying to be perfect and seeking approval outside. Okay. Then, as an awakened feminine, trust in self, connection with the intuition and internal guidance, compassionate and loving towards self, receptive to the wisdom of others, knowing our gifts and talents and owning them, empowered to take action from a place of love, open to feeling and allowing our emotions to be expressed, a deep connection with the source and the universe, having an embodied relationship with the divine, and living in full presence and awareness. What I'm going to do differently today is just look at how the wounded feminine and the awakened feminine impacts growing up and being a teenager. And there might be a little bit more bias towards the girl child. But let's think about the boy child while I'm talking about this as well. In modern culture, societal roles often determine the home and professional lives of teenage girls and young women. The concept of gender role determines what is seen as normal behavior for people of each gender, in turn contributing to the power of the wounded female in teenage girls. The injured feminine also refers to what is known as the injured anima. It's a Latin word for feminine, or self, and is often the result of the subtle power and control of gender roles, and can lead to an awakening of the feminine young women as they explore their identity. So, the wounded feminine, in terms, are often used to describe the trapped feelings and experience of teenage girls and young women in this patriarchal social system. It refers to the psychological and emotional consequences of gender roles, in which girls must adopt behaviors and values that are not authentic to their true selves. This can include a sense of confusion, guilt, shame, and even rage over the way in which society has tried to limit their potential to control their behavior. The wounded feminine is a phenomenon that occurs both within and outside of intimate relationships. Oppressive behaviors and beliefs from parents, family members, partners, co workers, teachers, and often seen as reinforcing the power of gender roles on teenage girls. This can manifest as pressure to perform certain societal roles, a lack of freedom over their own life choices, and a diminished autonomy in the home and workplace. While the awaken, while, while the wounded feminine can lead to feelings of profound helplessness and oppression, it can also be a catalyst for awakening in teenage girls and the ability to think independently and follow one's own truth often begins with becoming aware of the internal influences hemming them in. With this awareness comes the power to disrupt, counter oppression, counter-oppressive gender roles, thus reclaiming a sense of self-agency and empowerment. This can be expressed by rejecting traditional gender roles and asserting one's own sense of self-efficiency. It can involve in breaking away from societal expectations set upon them and finding a new way to connect with a developing sense of identity, in particular the ability to explore sexuality, explore and question emotions, cultivate healthy relations, become empowered within relationships can help foster a sense of newfound self-fulfillment. The impact of the wounded feminine and the awakened feminine. The wounded feminine is a powerful force that can shape the lives and identities of teenage girls and young women in both positive and negative ways. For many, the pressure of gender roles can lead to a long-lasting feeling of disempowerment, confusion, and even depression. And it can also be an impetus for an awakening of the feminine, for girls to gain a sense of courage and a willingness to challenge the status quo and assert their own rights to autonomy and self-expression. Either way, it is important to remember that each girl's experience of the wounded feminine is unique, and the gender roles are often embedded within our society in subtle ways that are difficult to recognize. Working with teenage girls and young women to recognize and resist such influences is an important step in cultivating healthy gender roles and allowing girls to explore their identity without fear or judgment. And when I think about this, I always think about as an adult, how can we help young girls? We can be, we can be play a role in this, and how can we, uh, what can we do differently? And if you have any ideas, pop them into the group, please. Because I definitely think we need more mentoring environments for young girls and boys. Um, so, how does this impact our lack of abundance? Oh, abundance when we look at the divine feminine. So, when you think about the divine feminine, it's literally an ancient, almost iconic energy that's been around for centuries. I mean, even before Christianity and other world religions, it was a powerful and mysterious force, and it manifested itself in different forms. I mean, I think we had strong matriarchal societies, and women were powerful in a lot of your indigenous cultures, and we literally embrace these things within. And we, if you look at ancient mythology, you look at Diana, which is the goddess of war. We look at Kali. We look at Lakshmi, who's the goddess of abundance. We look at oh, they just Hecate. You look at and even your Isis, your Egyptian goddesses as well, and you can see that the feminine was revered and honored. And I sometimes find that some of this is missed in our current society. Today, society, this perspective of divine feminine is largely based on a wounded, on that wounded and awakened archetype. And when we think about the wounded feminine, sometimes it refers to almost what we call the internal saboteur, and is indicative of those who are afraid to speak their truth, lack of self-worth, and and a sense of seeking validation from others in order to feel secure. This is often characterized through a tendency to tolerate toxic people and situations. That whole concept of people pleasing behaviors, constant that constant apologizing for who you are, and having that negative self-talk that just reinforces the patterns of insecurity and lack of self-love. Unfortunately, this type of behavior can be pervasive in many areas and often lead to a lack of abundance in various forms, such as a lack of meaningful relationships, financial prosperity, and even joy. But looking on the flip side, when an individual begins to recognize their own unique feminine powers, the awakened feminine archetype can be harnessed and serves as a source of great strength and abundance. An individual with an awakened feminine is able to speak their truth without fear of judgment or ridicule, believe in and love themselves deeply, is discerning when it comes to decision making, and identifies and sets healthy boundaries with others. Most importantly, an awakened feminine grows into understanding and accepting our own flaws and insecurities, which leads to even greater self care, self love, and knowing our identity and worth. This awakened feminine perspective provides an opportunity to break free from societal norms and expectations set to embody the essence of the divine feminine. It is a wounded feeling, one of self confidence. Sorry, guys. I've got a bit of a. It's something that I'm looking at, so like I sometimes read some of the stuff incorrectly. So lots of these feelings, like the awakened feminine, is normally set in this grounded feelings, okay? One of self confidence, self care, and self worth, and of believing that you are worthy of abundance in all forms. Thus, this can lead you to having meaningful relationships, financial prosperity, and an overall sense of joy, understanding, and love. And the most important thing is like, that I love about the divine feminine is also the sense of community. If I, as I empower myself, I empower others. And this true power of the divine feminine can be powerful and transformative experience for both men and women of all ages if they are willing to explore and embrace it. It is important to recognize the powerful impact that the wounded and awakened feminine archetypes have on an individual's perspective and behavior. By understanding abundance or lack of abundance due to the paradigm of the divine feminine, we, we can begin to heal and transform our lives from inside and out, and ultimately realize that we are worthy and can assess the true abundance of the divine feminine. I need to actually look at the feminine more also in men, because we've 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 taught our men not to feel, and we when men express their divine feminine, we look at them as sissies and people that are weak and powerless. And I think we need to change those social constraints in a big sort of way. And yes, we do. The masculine and the feminine are aspects of the same coin, just the flip side. And we have both. Um, guys, remember, there was always this gender roles in place for the last few decades, and it's very misogynistic. And there are few conversations about the wounded feminine, awakened masculine in men. These topics are often seen as taboo. However, with the rise of gender issues, these topics have become increasingly more important to discuss. The wounded feminine is the idea of a refreshed femininity in men, and the awakened feminine in men is the idea of embracing feminine energy, and are both a key part of our current cultural shift. Wounded and awakened feminine men are two sides of the same space, and understanding them can be very empowering. On one side, the hurt and denied feminine can lead to a range of negative issues if left unaddressed. While on the other side, men who tap into the strength of the feminine side become more whole and balanced. The wounded feminine in men is often seen as the underlying cause of male suicide, substance abuse, and anger. And guys, there's lots of that around. It often manifests itself in men who avoid emotional vulnerability and instead become the tough, stoic archetype of males, and the need to hide tenderness, emotion, and vulnerability under an armor of hardness is a symptom of a wounded feminine in men. Wounded feminine in men has its roots in socialization with the ingrained expectation about what it means to be a man. Throughout history, we have, and even today, there's almost like this cultural pressure for men to be strong, tough, and emotionally stable, which further suppresses men's emotions or expression of vulnerability and tender emotions. At the same time, the awakened feminine in men is seeing a shift in how our society views masculinity. Men are being empowered to honor their feminine side, which can create more balance in their lives. This is done through showing vulnerability, emotions, embracing creativity, and living life with greater compassion and sensitivity. The awakened feminine in men also allows them to become more effective leaders and mentors, as well as better partners and parents. Awakened masculine men is a balanced and dynamic combination of power, courage, and vulnerability. It's about owning the masculine traits of leadership, protection, and the ability to shape the world while at the same time being willing to soften into the tender side, show emotions, and care for others. It's about connecting our hearts and our minds so that whatever we do comes from a place of compassion, integrity, and being in tune with who we really are. Ultimately, a man can only heal his wounded feminine and awaken his masculine once he's willing and ready to accept all of the intricacies of his identity. It is a path of courage and self discovery. It's not an overnight process, but rather a lifelong journey of growth and enrichment. Through engagement in the process, men will be able to feel more connected and compassionate, allowing them to lead richer and more fulfilling lives. I'd like to end up with a question I'd like you to journal. What messages or expectations do you grow up about how a real woman is supposed to act? How do these expectations affect the way you behave and think right now? Has the idea of a real woman restricted you in life? Are there any emotions you were discouraged from expressing or activities you were discouraged from engaging in that you now recognize as important in maintaining a healthy emotional life? How has these restrictions impacted your relationship with other people? Do you feel pressure to conform to traditional gender roles or live up to the expectation of others? How has your understanding of femininity changed over time? Do you think traditional ideas of femininity limit or hinder women in any way? Then, do you think traditional ideas of femininity limit or hinder men in any way? Okay, guys, remember one is for the women, okay? Femininity for the women and femininity for the men, okay? If you could redefine what it means to be a man, okay, if you could redefine what it means to be a woman, what values or qualities would you include? What do you think are the most important aspects of how femininity is expressed? How do you think the feminine definitions has impacted your self-development and life choices? What do you think could be done to create a healthy version of femininity? Thank you so much. Remember, I will do a meditation and after this. So when you've processed and gone through this, please do the meditations. Just sit quietly and let yourself just think through this. If you're having trouble with meditating, just let me know. Because I can see a lot of you are not really connecting with the meditations a lot because I see not a lot of you are actually opening them up as well. So have an awesome, awesome day. And I hope this has been empowering. This has made a difference and is making a difference. Sending you all love and light. And tonight I'm doing some Reiki healing for all that's participating. So just find a quiet space. Maybe doing meditation. I'll, I'll be doing it at around 7 o'clock tonight. So just find a quiet place and just connect and just feel the healing. Okay? Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for listening to my ideas and concepts. Love you lots.